Okay, finally, at last, Simon, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome
Thank
stuff.
you.
You're the fastest man in the fleet. There it is, hands down. And we all know about that. So we're just going to, first of all, a bit of a boring alert. We're going to do technical stuff on the boat, walk around and talk about what worked and what didn't, like the Hydrovane braking and other bits. And then we'll go down below and just talk about the race in general. So I'm going to take the camera now, Jean. Thank you. And we'll say, how you feeling first?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I was pretty good on arrival, but had a few days to acclimatise and get the alcohol levels back up and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough. Okay, we'll climb on board and see what we get here. So let's head up to the bow first.
Go first.
Hang on, Jane's getting something here. Oh, you're looking for the phone, Jane. Hang on, here we go. It's in my pocket. Here we go. Okay, so all right. So where do we start with the?
I guess up at the
just
front.
Talk.
So yeah, I mean, I had quite a choice of headsails, but some of the time it didn't work. So one of my big problems was that on the furling Genoa, had a halyard failure. There was a problem which I haven't resolved entirely yet. We need to get the mast down and have a look at the sheaves at the top of the mast. So it went just after the equator on the way down the Atlantic. I tried to do a repair, which I think was fairly well documented at Trinidad. I went up the mast, but just got myself beaten to pieces and managed to foul everything up at the top of the mast. So I then didn't have the Genoa and I didn't have spinnakers. Luckily, what I had was attached to here, we have a removable forestay, which sits back on against the shrouds most of the time. I bring it in and then I can put on a Hankton light weather Genoa. And that light weather Genoa got a bit mistreated because it sailed all the way from the equator to Cape Town.
Really, as a hanked-on sail.
As a hanked-on sail on this forestay that you can't see at the moment because it's pinned back.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was still in good nick. I mean, very good sails, and I mean, it's the sail I finished with coming because in the light airs of the finish, it's a much better sail. It's got 140%, and the skirt is right low, so it's just much more efficient.
Yeah, that's cool. So the furling gears themselves not a problem?
The furling I had no problem at all. Yeah, the only problem is in hindsight there are a few things I would take, like there's a very special shackle that goes in here, and if you don't take a spare and you lose it, then you're in trouble.
Did you lose it?
I lost it.
What'd you do?
I filed a new shackle down until it fitted in there and replaced it.
Okay.
There was a lot of work of filing down and opening up and finding a pin that worked.
Yeah, the sail that's on there now, what's the sail? Is it like number 2 or what?
It's the number 1 Genoa.
It's number 1. So the one loose lufty on the hanks, that's what?
It's a number 1 as well. It's a light number 1.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
And then behind that, she's now cut a rig because before she had the anchor well here. When we put in the watertight compartment, which goes across here, we put in a partial bulkhead, and this is staysail, and effectively that was another really useful sail. And I never used the storm jib at all, except to try and steer once the steering gear had gone. But the staysail was my storm jib, so I could just have that partially furled, and for example in the Southern Ocean it would just be sheeted back along the line, close sheeted in.
So you drop the staysail and put the storm jib in there?
No, I just use a furled, partially furled as the storm jib.
So these two have stayed on for the whole race?
They've stayed on for the whole race, except that of course after I'd lost the halyard on this, after that I had to drop it once a week to move over the wear point and cut off the bad bits of halyard.
Yeah.
So that was my pleasant job, was to try and get this down and back up through the foil once a week, whatever the conditions.
Have you gone up and had a look and see what was causing it yet?
I've been up a couple of times en route, and I haven't been up again since. But I think I'll need to drop the mast and service it. But we'll probably be doing that anyway, just to check everything over.
So how many spinnakers did you take?
I took 3. We'll have a look at them down below. Okay. So the asymmetric was a bit disappointing because somebody banned us from using any form of bowsprit. And what of course I should have done, and in hindsight, and for anybody who's thinking of doing it in the future, is if I'd had a cutaway pulpit, it would have been a lot of help, like I had on, for example, on the J105. Then you can fly the asymmetric. But I had a real problem with the tack line. And on the prologue, we ran the asymmetric pretty much the whole way, and we lost the tack line. It was worn through on the pulpit, and then that caused problems up above as well. So I didn't manage to use the asymmetric as much as I'd have liked, just because it's continually wearing. I put this fair lead, which is just one of the Wishard fair leads for the furling gear, on here to help. But that helped a bit, but it was still a bit unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
And then I had two symmetric spinnakers. I used the S4 fairly extensively, and the nice one with a big red rooster on it and the sponsor's name Howden's on it was really just for the finish.
Oh, right, okay.
and actually the first night.
I got it today in the office.
What's that?
The fine for sailing up.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Oh, it's really good of you to offer to pay for that, because it was great publicity.
Yeah, okay. Actually, Ablis has said he'd do it. You know.
That's good.
He thought you did it well. So.
That's good.
Okay, so coming back here, how was your non-skid?
The non-skid's pretty good. Yeah. It all worked pretty well. A bit hot on the orange.
Is it? It's just,
it's again, Nautics were my paint supplier, and so it's a Nautis lac, so lacquer with beads.
Yeah.
So I applied the beads, and it's all rolled on with my fair hand.
Yep, that's cool.
And the orange is the same.
Yeah, cool. Actually, the orange held up well. It's not
The orange
faded
held
at all.
up slightly better than some that faded a little bit. It's faded a bit, but it's held up pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the mast.
Okay.
And your
the
rope
mast.
backs, because first of all, you've got virtually nothing going back to the cockpit, eh? You virtually everything. It's clear.
Yeah. So the cockpit's crowded enough. There are enough ropes back there. There's a bit of a snake pit at the best of times, and actually, if you look, there's not really a great way of leading ropes back. And if you do, you take it over the top of solar panels and hatches and vents and everything. So
exactly.
And I have no problem. And I said this at the beginning. In theory, I don't have any problem, and I'll tell you at the end whether I did or not.
Yeah.
I have no real problem with coming up here and doing the reefing. No granny bars or anything like
so there's
that.
nothing.
No,
this is all very traditional stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Nothing
so the
special.
mast foot was replaced before, because this was all rotten in the sandwich between the two layers of the GRP. So you can sort of see where it was all taken out, and that was my fault for doing a rubbish finishing on it. But that's how these things go.
That's cool. If you want to hang on to that, just hold it down right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
it's a bit windy here.
Where's your stay that is lashed down at the mast?
The forestay.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Here it is.
So there it is. You just
So
use
it
block and catch.
hooks into the spreader. There's a little hook up above, so that it stays pretty much in place.
Oh, you won't be able to see that. Maybe you can. Yeah, you can see it hooked across. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a rideau in French, manual that you attach on.
Yeah.
So it attaches onto here, and then you just tighten it up on the on the bow.
That's pretty good, eh? Yeah, it's not touching anything.
Yeah.
So obviously the big thing is that your single spreader rig.
That was the big advantage, really. I think that's what gave me the speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Nearly as much as your foils. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's not an oversized section.
It's a big section. I mean, I think I'd have gone for a smaller section if I'd gone for a two-spreader rig.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a balance, and so got a bit of extra weight in the section, and less weight up top with the spreaders. But I'm not an expert on masts. I was advised that it was a perfectly good solution, and I went with it. So that's.
You build it again?
It's a Sparcraft mast and boom, and it was built by
Local guy.
Yeah, no, up in La Trinité.
Yeah.
I'll just get the name.
That's
It's for some reason my brain's just gone dead. Atelier Câble.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Based in La Trinité. So they did a really good job and very supportive.
Everything. This is the beauty of it. It doesn't have to be high tech. It just needs to be good, sound, solid engineering.
Yeah, and good supportive suppliers who actually take an interest in the project, understand it, and support it right through to the end.
Yeah. Okay. So your runners were all good all the way, and
runners were good. I mean, the mast didn't really need runners for most. I mean, it was really when you got the staysail up. because there's nothing else much going to that area. But I did use the runners, which are all pulled back at the moment, but I used the runners in rough weather just as a bit of additional when it was really fierce, but I don't think it was necessary.
Okay, I'm just having a look here. How long is your backstay aerial for the HF?
It's about 8 meters. It's a good length. It was very good on.
Just one.
It was very good on some frequencies, but it's a problem because you've got the split backstay. You can't make it any longer.
Still established it, right? The reason I bring it up there, Simon's radio was all a bit of a.
Yeah, but
an issue,
but the reception was fantastic. I had as good reception, I think, as anybody.
Yeah.
It was just the transmission, and I can explain that. There's a very simple explanation for that.
It's got the split there, and it's got all the standoffs and everything.
Yeah, I mean that worked fine.
Yeah. Okay. And you say with lazy jacks all the way. Lazy jacks on
Yeah.
the boom.
Yeah, but I mean they're just. I mean there's a little bit of wear and tear in it where it catches in during reefing, but.
Okay.
I mean, but there's no bag or anything, just lazy jacks.
So it's all
It was a bit of a nuisance when hoisting the mainsail from time to time because the battens, because it's got full length battens.
Yeah. What about the rope bags on the mast? They work well.
Yeah, fantastic.
They look good.
Kept things nice and tidy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
A shorter one on
the start. I thought, because I know the bags, you've seen them around and stuff, but then I thought round the world, okay, but it does.
Yeah, some of the attaching straps are looking a bit tired, but
yeah,
but they they did. They did well, and of course, I mean, we haven't actually talked about the sails, but I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier on who's interested in the boat, and they could go around again. I mean,
there's a problem to that formula, though.
What's that?
I agree entirely, and John Luke was the same. They could go around again, and then you get the problem if you're a skipper, if you're an entrant. There's so much at stake. Do you want to go right to the end and hope it goes?
But you got the choice.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, what I would do would be definitely replace the light Genoa that I thrashed somewhat.
Yeah.
But the other sails are I'd send them off to the sailmaker
it's a classic. When you get one and you think, it'll probably be okay, but will it? And then you have that argument with yourself. What if it fails? Because I didn't check it, even though it looks perfect. And so that's part of the game of when you're trying to get a boat for the GGR. What level do you get your boat? Do you get a really good one and do a little refit, or do you get one that's a bit less and do the major refit and all that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. And that's I mean, what you can certainly say is these are going to do another 3 years of qualification or whatever, and then if the budget allows, you can go and replace.
Yeah, too true.
And the spinnakers hardly got any use really. The S4 got the most use.
Yeah.
The S2 hardly anything at all.
Yeah.
And the asymmetric a bit. So they're all probably okay, because it's disappointing. I love sailing under spinnaker, but there are precious few times when
look, we caught her. Got you, Jane. Okay, sorry, Simon. I was just digressing here. You know the deal.
Yeah.
Always hiding.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was disappointed with how little spinnaker work I did manage to do, because most of the time the seas were such that
too rolly.
that it's too rolly, and you think you're getting it going okay, and then you take it down and put up the Genoa and you go just as fast, which is disappointing.
So your furling gears, they were both new for the race?
No, the
profile.
The bow one is new.
Yeah.
And the old
Furlex
was the original bow one, so just moved it back.
That's a good idea. Yeah, cool.
Okay,
let's go back.
Solar panel passing by. So this one packed up.
Oh, really?
I mean, you could early on after a month. So what happened was you just got molten copper pouring out. You can see the traces. Dissolved copper. Dissolved.
So it was
salt
water getting in there.
So it got into this watertight. So this was me afterwards.
Yeah.
It did actually come back to life. So I
that's amazing,
briefly.
That's not a little brand name. It's quite a powerful brand name.
Yeah. So I mean, I've got two others now. I mean, you may remember the discussion. I mentioned it on the safety calls. I was really nervous, having lost one after a month, and it's still got 7 months to go, and I'd got two left, and I was expecting them to go. So I had problems with those. I had problems with the connections. Yeah. Here there isn't a problem because it all goes down below. Yeah. But these are the walking ones, and the removable ones.
Yeah.
So I had problems with all the connections on these.
Hold the mic down there a bit lower. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there are two lots of connections. There's a sort of hard wire connection here. And I'm very proud of this. This was a retrofit. after the connections had failed, but also the plug-in connections
Yeah.
that used to be mounted here.
Yeah.
They just dissolved in the salt water because 20
Really?
20 volts going. All copper connections are supposed to be watertight, good quality, and
Jeepers.
they're just not good enough. It'd be interesting to know what other people found.
Yeah.
So the solution there was I hardwired. I
Yeah.
took that all off and then ran the cable inside and hardwired it through
So
to
that
the
means they're
regulators.
outside all the time. These have been
So-
in the cockpit
yep.
all the time.
So I created, I mean, back here you might remember one of the things I did to the boat early on was to take out the wheel.
Yep.
And of course there's the room here because these come in ketch as well, and
Yep.
that's where the ketch mast would go. So I created a fantastic cockpit, which I love,
Absolutely.
and then filled it full of solar panels because there's only one place for them to go, and that was on, and there you've got the two of them. Normally this would
Yeah.
be down here, and I've got a tiny bit of working space up forward.
Yeah. Actually, it's really cool because when I was looking, with the ketch you can't do it anyway because you got the mast there. But it's good how it works out because that was the emergency tiller fitting before back there, or did the emergency?
No,
tiller
the emergency tiller
was down?
finished
That's what I
down
thought, yeah. So you had to
in
build
there.
a new shaft and extend it, or you
Yep.
got to join. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So put a
That's a
new
big
shaft
one.
in and put in the.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of engineering. I mean, the beauty was that the end of the shaft came up where it did between the cockpit
Yeah,
locker
perfect.
and the back. Which whether that was design and they were thinking of it being a
Maybe.
tiller, I suspect it must have been because it's too precise to be
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
But that went in beautifully,
Yeah. Okay.
and I hardly steered with this tiller at all when
So
the.
new tiller, it obviously was new tiller. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's looking a bit beaten up because just before the start I panicked because the varnish was beginning to bubble, and this is now epoxied just on the top.
Yeah.
So we'll take that down and tidy it up because it's
How
a beautiful
often?
tiller made.
Yeah.
That was a present from the yard from Nat
Oh, they did
Yachting.
it for you.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and
work
that was a present from them, which
Yeah.
was very nice.
Yeah. So how often you're steering on the Hydrovane tiller?
Only really in light airs when the Hydrovane's not working well,
Yeah.
and under spinnaker,
Yeah.
and anything where, because despite all my instruction, the Hydrovane just could not get the hang of apparent wind.
Yeah. That's pretty important.
It's not very bright.
Yeah.
The computer on it
Yeah.
is clearly not working well. So, I mean, certainly under spinnaker where you get big apparent wind things, or,
Oh, yeah.
or in light airs,
Light
it's,
wind and
it's,
fast boat
it's,
speed.
it's just not going to
no
work.
wind vane's gonna.
So with this light tiller extension, it doesn't need to be heavy because
you can
the
just help it. Yeah. Let's have a look.
yep. Fall overboard. So
Yeah. Oh,
from here,
Jesus.
I can, and because it's finger.
Yeah. It's nothing.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
there's no load.
nothing.
I can sit here and steer. It's a very comfortable
Yeah.
steering position, and actually quite pleasant because I think everyone says that the GGR boats generally are actually not much fun to sail from a pure sailing perspective, but actually this gives you it back a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Were you often trimming the boat under power with the rudder, the ship's rudder? Kick it a bit to straighten
Yeah,
it forward?
yeah. So I mean, I read my Hydrovane manual, which said that if you really wanted to work properly, make sure your sails are nicely balanced, which I do anyway.
Yeah.
But actually, just offset the.
Saw a bit.
So we've got this this rather crude system of control, but what
It's good when it works.
it works, and I also had elastic, so that sometimes it would just take some of the shock because it would jar.
Yeah.
And if I put a bit of heavy shock cord on it,
Yeah.
and of course when I had to hand steer from the incident for 12 days, the shock cord was definitely in use.
So when you set up your, because you did a pretty good job with sheet to tiller or balance the boat and sail and stuff, it was all generally on the beam or forward of the beam. What were you doing? Just balancing the boat?
Yeah, just balancing the boat. I mean, that worked pretty well, and again using the shock cord just to take some of the shock out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it balanced pretty well. And anything forward of about 120 degrees off the wind, we could manage. It's just beyond that, there was no chance.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
I tried that, as you'll recall, for a couple of
Yeah.
days. I tried to find all sorts of ways to sail downwind, and
absolutely.
that didn't work.
What about the Watton Sea?
Now the Watton Sea, I mean, it was backup because I wanted to keep it in reserve. I used it about 3 days.
Yeah.
One day in Biscay on the way out when it was grey.
Yeah.
One day in Biscay on the way back when it was grey, and one day down in the south. But
Really? So
but
the rest of the time just the solar panels?
rest was on solar panels.
Cool. Yeah.
But then, of course, as we'll talk about, I wasn't doing any transmission on the
exactly. It's 10
HF
amps
radio,
that
so
go
that's
out the door.
so that certainly helps.
That's cool. And the Hydrovane. This is the mystery parts.
Yes. So
This is the bit that broke. So tell us the story. You can see, first of all, everyone can see the top bit anyway. I'll just show you the bit that's broken. So you can see on the top there, it's the whole top mechanism, the very top bit that holds the flip-flop vane. This bit's here we're talking about. So this took a wave, and tell us what happened.
So obviously the vane is mounted up, and it, I mean, particularly on a point of sailing, it's off centre, and then if you get a few tons of wave landing on top of it, something's going to go. Now, in theory, it's not supposed to be the head that goes, but essentially that's what happened. This is the bit that holds the vane up on top, and of course it's got those lead weights, which actually they weigh a lot.
Yeah.
So you've got the weight of the water plus those lead weights, and it's just fractured. You can see that there's essentially a weak point. Yeah, there's a hole there, which is to take a bit of string with a pin on the pin that holds the vane straight, which is not one that I even had. I took it out because I never had. There was no point in for me. I mean, it's not for use in operation really.
Yeah.
So you've got a hole just at the point where it's narrowest on the body. So I think I mean I will be talking to Hydrovane, giving some feedback, and I'll send them the parts.
Yeah.
There's a question as to whether there's an issue with the forger, the casting of it.
Yeah.
You can see some wear around the outside. That isn't fatigue and crack. That's just where it bashed together after it had fallen, after it had broken.
Yeah.
But a metallurgist would be able to have a look at it and see. And
they are very surprised. I checked with them at the time, and they said it's happened twice before. You're number 3, and the other 2 times were in collisions, like with wharfs or marina and stuff. It was physical damage, but yours is the first one ever at sea.
So
they're interested.
Just a little bit of clarification there, because I know one should never let the truth get in the way of a good story. There wasn't a question of me not taking spare parts because of weight.
Yeah.
If anyone had suggested that this was a spare part that I should have taken, because there are a lot of parts on the boat, and if you take a spare part for everything, there wouldn't be room for me in the boat. I have a lot of Hydrovane spares on board, including the vane. This was not one that anyone recommended taking. Clearly, if I was to do it again and this component stays the same, I mean, I'm very happy with the Hydrovane, but clearly not quite so happy with that particular component.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's cool.
So that is really the story of that, and as you can see here, there is absolutely no way to, I mean, the loads on it, if you can break that casting, there's no way to do a repair at sea. And frankly, I couldn't think of a way to
dodge it up.
To dodge it up that would actually work as an alternative.
Yeah, they did send me a plan, you know, we were just saying before, but I didn't even worry about something too complicated. It's all a bit much. Okay.
So I mean, they kindly supplied the whole component. And got it to Clara and Paul, my team, and couldn't trust customs or anything, so they flew out to Chile with it and got there just about the same time as I did, which that was good.
Okay, so what about the Ecomax transponder? That's the big white thing sticking up here.
Well, frankly, it was turned off 99% of the time because it alarms. It's too sensitive. It alarms all the time, which becomes tedious when you're trying to get some sleep. And then when you're in the Southern Ocean, I didn't see a boat for example, from Cape Town to arrival in Hobart, 5 miles from the arrival. So to carry that just for that. So that wasn't. I mean, I love the principle of it, but it wasn't successful. The Merveille, or the system for AIS, did work. It worked much better with boats coming from behind or that had just passed you. It wasn't quite.
Oh, that's good.
There's probably a bit of shadow from the mast and stuff, but it didn't work quite so well at things coming towards you or that you were going towards.
Yeah. Where was
But
the aerial for that?
the aerial's there.
That's it there.
That's it there.
Oh, the VHF.
The VHF one.
Or, yeah.
But I mean, for example, coming around Finisterre,
Yeah.
I mean, at least I knew it was working and there were ships around, but it was going permanently
Yeah.
because I had
That's
about
an
20 odd
interesting
ships.
one, because most people use an AIS aerial. I mean, a VHF aerial. Is that a VHF or an AIS aerial?
It's a VHF area.
Yeah, because there is a difference, but it doesn't matter. Everyone
Yeah.
uses VHF, but
Yeah.
there's a little
I was
one
just
that's-
told
Yeah.
it would do fine, and
it
so
basically does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, cool.
so that it was pretty good. The tracker worked.
Yeah.
So other damage that happened during this wave hit. So where the Hydrovane got damaged was in a severe gale. It wasn't enormous, but it was a severe
I
gale.
remember it was an average gale. I mean,
Well,
it was a good one,
you
but it wasn't a
yeah.
super duper.
You promised me it would be a well-organised
Well,
one.
you know, yeah, never believe what the race organiser says.
So we got hit by. I just changed the course, so we'd been set up coming on taking the northwesterly
Yeah.
wind and waves on the quarter, and then we were going through the westerly phase of it, and it had just switched to southwest. So I'd been up, changed the course,
Yeah.
set it so I was taking both the wind-caused waves on the
Yeah.
quarters. Everything looked to be reasonably under control. Quite happy. I've got no mainsail at all. I've just got the furled staysail run in line,
Yeah.
doing probably about 5.5 to 6 knots.
Yeah.
Gone back down, getting some kip because I hadn't had much for a little while. But there's nothing to do really. There was nothing I could do to assist, and it
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have helped if I'd been sitting up on top when the wave came. But it clearly took out the Hydrovane, which is, as you say, it's
Yeah.
never happened before
No,
as far as Hydrovane are concerned. Damaged the hydro generator, bent the blade.
The blade, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the blade.
Yep, bent the
Jeepers.
aluminium casting on the blade,
Yeah.
so that afterwards it was sufficiently bent that the propeller would hit against the
jeepers.
rudder of the.
Okay.
So that again was a bit of a repair in Chile. And then this
The Dodger?
the canopy, the Dodger canopy in French, was folded flat because I had it down during all the sort of tailwinds in the
Yeah.
Southern Ocean, and it was strapped down to these handrails.
Ah, those ones I wonder.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so you'll see that there's
Go
one
on.
broken off there.
Yeah, yeah.
So these mountings were ripped out.
Yeah. So the base mountings, yeah.
The base mountings, in fact, they were screwed in originally
Yeah.
because I was persuaded, I agreed that everything is under compression.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, as
It's
long
under
as it's up.
compression. Yeah, as long as it's up. So they were ripped out of there. It was ripped out all the poppers. We lost about 8 of the poppers around around here.
Yeah.
And
So
it was
the water must have got underneath it and just ballooned it.
Yeah, so what happened, and it ripped it, all these seams, ripped it off the frame, and it was hanging over the side attached to the one tie that was
Yeah.
holding on to that.
Yeah.
And all these mountings were bent, and the hoops were bent. So again, that was something. I could have finished the race obviously with it like that and done done a bit more sewing that I'd already been doing a fair amount anyway.
Yeah.
But
So you repaired it all?
that was repaired in Chile.
Oh, in Chile. Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So
We're thinking about grandfathering the existing Dodgers, hard Dodgers, but making hard Dodgers not a story anymore.
you told me that's interesting. What's the
Just to
logic
get rid of
behind
the
that?
windage. Just get
Oh,
rid
yeah.
of the windage.
Yeah.
You know, it's too dangerous in extreme conditions.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to fold it out of the way.
Yeah. Which I duly did, but in hindsight, what I should have done is taken the canopy straight off
Yeah.
early on in the Southern Ocean,
Yeah.
and then that would have been one less problem.
Okay.
I've got this little cover here that
Yeah.
served a couple of purposes because it a lot of the time you just have it open like that, and that was quite sufficient protection.
Yeah, yeah.
But also when I put the washboards in and then pull it down, I can pass this underneath the washboards.
Yeah.
And it just made it a little bit more watertight, so
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
get so much water coming in
Sure.
through the washboards.
Yeah.
And that worked really well, but that was ripped off.
Yeah.
So this is a replacement.
Okay. Geez, you did a bit in Chile.
No, this was team had it made up
Oh, before you
by
left.
One Sails down in Hamble. They
Yeah.
kindly, because they've been a fantastic support
Yeah.
to me sail-wise, and they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
knocked that up in an hour.
Yeah.
Uh,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep, that's cool. Let's go down below.
Yeah.
Getting hot. The winches were all right. 'Cause I
Winches-
always said at the beginning, geez, they're small winches.
Yeah, but they're small sails.
Yeah, yeah. True.
This is a little fillet that I put in because that's
what's
where.
under the cabin sole? Yeah.
That's okay. So
What's going on here? Because you got these boards there.
yeah.
I didn't
So
notice that before.
so under there, I won't
No, don't need to
open it up. So that is a complete open void with a cover,
Yeah,
which has got a watertight seal on it.
yeah.
So that gives.
Engine.
No, it's actually just to give access because the engine access is best from
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah,
But it gives you access to the shaft and all sorts
Everything
of
you
other
need.
things.
Yeah.
And if you're going in and, for example,
Working on that, right, yeah.
replacing
that's standard.
the wheel,
Or you did that.
that's standard.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay.
It's quite good.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you do need to, if you're going to fill up the cockpit with water, which did happen from time to time.
That floats.
Yeah, those float out, but they're tied down with a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
piece
Oh,
of
yeah.
string here,
Yeah, yeah.
so they don't float away.
Okay.
But you need to make sure it's watertight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise it's a big hole down into the boat.
Yeah.
Right, down into the depths.
Last time I was here, I was filming as well.
Yeah,
I really get to see
you, you did a
thing.
sneaky
I said,
visit
"Where's
without
your
me.
sink? How's the sink looking?" Oh, yeah, Claire's here. You know, that's fine. Looks so
No, it was stayed pretty much like that because I redid the plumbing so that it went both ways. So it was a sink going out,
good.
but
Okay.
it's also,
It's also
a
the
pump
salt water in.
of salt water coming in.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's salt water, which is
Yeah.
one of the reasons I used a little less
Yeah.
water than some. I think
Yeah, yeah.
the problem with that is when I made my coffee and put the grains down it.
Yeah.
When I had the water coming back up, all you get is coffee grains. So
Okay.
I actually got rid of the sink outlet and
Yeah.
just had it for water coming in. So
Explain- Yeah.
any water going out just went overboard
Explain the
or down
galley.
the loo. So it doesn't take much explanation. It's a pretty simple
Okay, that's
system.
enough.
So gas I completely overcated for.
Yeah.
So
How many bottles did you have?
I had 2 bottles and I
In case you
used
lost- we could go back to Tahiti.
yeah. And then the jet boil I used for all the boiling water, which was coffee, tea,
Yeah. So you had canisters
rice.
for that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had 9 canisters for that,
Counterbalance-
and I
weight-
used
no
3.
weight, just the thing.
Yeah.
And that was okay?
That was fine.
I'm getting a signal, Jeng Jeng. What's that saying? Broadcasting sync. What's that say?
It will go up, just keep doing. It's
Okay.
filming anyway.
Yeah, okay.
That's cool. What were we saying?
No counterbalance underneath, just the lower gimbal pivot. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, it was the one that was on previously. I just modified it, put this
Yeah.
plate in, and mounted it all on that,
Okay.
and that worked fine. And if I really wanted to, I could wedge it,
Oh yeah.
which was quite useful.
Yeah, jamming it up,
Either
yeah.
way.
Yeah. Okay. And so, did you ever sleep in the quarter berth? No, it's got
No.
cushions. That's just storage.
That was just storage.
Yeah.
It's actually some of the driest storage. So that's where the sextants lived.
When you say it lives, is that how you had the sextant sitting there, or strapped in somewhere? or
No,
boxes
it
locked
was
down?
in these bags which are strapped down.
Oh, so you take them out of the bag every time?
They just sat there, and I
Yeah,
just
exactly. You know,
they were
it's real
within.
rough. Yeah.
So they just
We've been through this before. You've got all your various
sit like that.
electronics back there.
And to be honest, I used the plastic one most of the time because
Yeah.
getting salt water onto the Zeiss
Yes.
is not a clever idea, and
I
there's
just bought
too much.
exactly that sextant. I had a yacht sextant, but I bought the Zeiss Freiburg drum sextant for £280. It's like brand new.
I'm not allowed to know how much that cost.
Yeah.
That was a present. That was a present from Claire, and this
Fantastic.
is
Yeah,
a present from my father-in-law.
Yeah, plastic ones are good.
Yeah.
The dreaded weather facts.
The dreaded weather facts, which I mean, that was my fault. I think Kirsten managed to get a lot more out of it than I did,
Yeah.
but I didn't do the research, so I was working off the manual that came with the weather facts,
Yeah.
and that gives you a lot of stations that
Yeah.
transmit. So I mean, that's a typical weather facts that I did get
Yeah.
off the Azores off Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal transmit.
Yeah.
South Africa transmits,
Yeah.
but very few other places
Yeah, yeah,
transmit
yeah.
on.
Is that M710?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful radio.
710. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And you just that's a good idea. Just fit the door rather than a hinge. I like that. I've got to do the same thing on Explorer.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything special?
And I just
or
had
bad
little
about
wing,
that?
wing nuts on a
Yeah, that's
plate
perfect.
that went on the
That's
top.
perfect. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll
So that's
copy
good.
that. Anything
a
that?
little switch here to go from fax to radio.
Yeah. Okay. Anything that else that you want to talk about? Didn't work? Did work? Was good? Bad? Indifferent?
I mean, we could talk about the radio issue because
No, we've had enough of that.
yeah, I mean the issue was that I couldn't transmit,
Yeah.
and that was because I didn't put a ground plate on the outside of the hull,
Well, you didn't have one.
No, I did it on the internally running it
To
through
the keel.
to the engine, to the fuel tank, to which
Jesus.
isn't wholly recommended, but,
No, but
I thought
it can work. But
it can work.
But,
And
but yeah.
I mean, the problem, I mean, for those who are wondering what's going on, the issue with the radio, firstly, I left, because it's something I don't like and don't know, I left it too late.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're trying to set it up and test it, you need to be out of the marina,
Yeah.
you need to be offshore, and you need to be offshore with somebody else to talk to. And setting that up and finding somebody who's got HF radio,
Yeah.
it needs some planning.
Yeah.
And so I did do some of that, and I tested it with the systems that I had in place, and it worked. It worked in the prologue. It worked for the first day when the boats were close.
Yeah.
But then after that, it was quite apparent that I wasn't going to be able to transmit. Yeah. So I did have the Dynaplate with me on a copper tube on a wire that I could dangle over and use it, because we tested
Did it work
that.
better?
It would have, but I mean, going along, you can't do it. So, so I didn't actually test it. But it was there in case of emergency. But that's the reason I wasn't transmitting.
Yeah, just for those that haven't seen it, that's a YB3. I think most people know what it is, but that's a auxiliary tracking system and satellite texting unit, which is the backup. That's where we get the messages in and out. So okay. So that's which is your bunk? This one?
Both.
Both.
So what I did is
go down there.
When I was ready to tack or jibe the boat,
Yeah.
then I had to tack or jibe the internal. So I slept on this mattress, but on either side, and got lee cloths which are actually put out of the way. I thought there was one still there. Yeah, there's the lee cloths.
Yeah. Oh, the world just went upside down. Behind you.
Oh no, the world's rolled over.
No.
Is there one still there?
Yeah. So.
So yeah, basically I had one with lee cloth with clothes and the things
Yeah.
I was using. This whole, I mean, it's quite an interesting concept, I guess. And practical, surprisingly worked. This is the wet area, and I allowed water to get into the cooking area. That was okay, but when I talk about water, inevitably some comes down through the hatch. And then I had a spray sheet which just mounts up here to provide some protection to just slides into this track. And that worked pretty well to protect the weather facts and all the nav gear. So actually I never had to cover up the HF radio, which was good. And then I put in a little strip here underway. I mean, there are quite a few modifications that I made underway.
What's the strip for?
Well, it just stops any water coming down into here.
Just that little bit.
Yeah, just enough.
Coconut used to do a stormboard there.
Okay. I wasn't planning on taking that much water on board. So I just sit here, strip off all the foul weather gear. Boots would go under there. The foul weather gear would hang up here, and just which is why some of this varnish is a bit perished. And then I wasn't allowed into this area in anything wet. And that stayed pretty dry the whole way, except for during the knockdown.
Okay, so you've got the barometers behind the glass box. Is there glass? No, and then you got the barograph.
This is the barograph. I mean, the barometer, frankly, is. Did
it move?
Oh yeah, it did. It did,
good.
but it
That's
didn't
right.
correspond too well to the barograph. The barograph worked very well. The only thing I hadn't catered for on the barograph is that I didn't take enough pens.
Oh really?
Yeah.
You've used it up. Yeah.
So in the tropics, they dried out pretty quickly.
Ah right.
And I took 2, and
Geez, you think that'd be heaps?
yeah, I thought that would be heaps.
Jeepers. Yeah.
So then I had a little. You'll find it on some of the footage I prepared for the documentary. But I had a go at stripping out some indelible
biros.
pens
Yeah.
and biros and adding
Chipping
isopropylene
Did you-
and it sort of, unfortunately, it just did a sort of
Did it?
smudged and.
I had 7 knockdowns and 1 360 in the BOC, and they were all recorded on my barograph. Did you check when you got your knockdown? If it's
Yeah,
there?
it's here.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You did exactly. Yeah, there. Okay.
There it
You
is.
get the blip.
So there's the.
Yeah. Hang on. Have to come around here. Where's the?
So this is the northwesterly coming down, and there it's gone through, and we were in the westerlies, and this is where the knockdown was. But I mean, it's not a particularly massive.
Yeah. Oh, mine. I had a distinct bloody boom.
Well,
Anyway.
it's already going to its maximum
Yeah.
anyway, because it's vibrating all over the
These
place.
look like they might fit my barograph. Oh,
I've got plenty of them.
Eh?
I've got plenty of them, and I can tell
Did
you
you
where
buy
they come
them?
from. Yeah,
Oh, I'll have to
like everything
take a photo
online,
and see if it's the
eBay.
same. I've
Yeah.
got one. I'll check because it looks very.
Comes from
similar.
Germany. Yeah.
I may be wrong. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So All right. So living day to day, you've got it, Dunny, haven't you? You've got a toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sails up the front.
Sails up the front.
Yeah.
So again, we're moving into wet area again. I kept these vents always working.
Yeah.
I closed up the other ones completely
Yeah.
because otherwise I was getting too much water in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, this is a really good toilet because you can wedge in
Yeah.
and you can put your
Yeah,
feet
yeah,
up against
yeah,
here. So there's
yeah.
no. I mean,
Yeah. That's cool.
I couldn't
Perfect.
find. I've done enough bucket work
I know,
before on
not
a
for
Mini.
year, jeepers, or 8
Yeah,
months, I
no,
couldn't do
I mean
it.
that
So
worked
Luke
pretty
was
well.
just nuts, you know. and some of the
Yeah, can't believe it. And then up here, obviously, there's the watertight bulkhead up forward.
Yeah.
Spinnakers live there most of the time.
Yeah. So all these
They're
are all
drop
your
down.
sails still on board at the moment.
Yeah, all the sails are on.
Everything's
So we've got the 3 spinnakers, we've got the lightweight Genoa, got the spare Hydrovane vane. This one took a bit of a bird strike, so I had to.
Bird
So I had to. Yes. So it ripped in a
Yeah, yeah.
rectangular. Well, you can see the shape of it through.
Yep. Okay.
Um,
Yep. That's cool.
So I had to do a sail repair on that.
Yep.
Uh,
That's cool.
yeah, and all the other sails are up except for the storm sails, which are down in here.
In there, was that a bit of a flaking off of the frame?
Yeah, that's non-structural.
Nothing.
It's
Yeah, it's
it's
just
just
a
a
bulkhead.
it's
It's
not
yeah,
even
yeah.
a proper bulkhead, but
Yeah.
that yeah.
Petition, just a petition.
Yep.
Yep. No, that's pretty cool.
And
has
the
it
spare
actually got
foul
any
weather
leaks?
gear here.
Any leaks in the?
Here it didn't matter. No, this one was pretty good. The other one had a little bit of a leak.
Yeah.
Interestingly, on the hinge
Yeah.
here, which I mean, it was me that installed it, so I need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
take it apart now. I can. It was difficult to redo it underway because it
Yeah,
opens up
yeah.
underneath
Absolutely.
underneath the boom vang or the kicking strap.
Okay.
And then I've got storage in these lockers.
Yeah.
Heavy stuff on the bottom, light stuff up.
Yeah.
Anchor and stuff is up forward under the,
Yeah.
and the chain is split between forward and aft.
Yeah. Pull up here on that side. Are you
Yeah.
an inside life raft man?
I'm an inside life raft man. I'd rather keep it in good nick, and I
Yeah.
know I will get it out
In a
if
hurry
I
if you
need to.
need it.
If I need it, it'll go outside.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
so-
And you've got your Citran bear there. What's the name of the bear?
That's Sid.
Sid. Sid
Yep.
from Citran. That
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
And this is my navigation. This is
Anything you
how I
want to
did
show
it.
us on your navigation system?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I had a little one compared to
Yeah.
that. Gee.
Oh, okay. You had one as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's yeah. I mean, the way out is pretty all over the place, and of
Yeah.
course, this is the big high pressure that we had
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that forced us way down south to
Yeah.
the latitude of Cape Town before we could turn left.
Yeah.
I was just playing back the tracks. I think other people had moved off a bit, and they'd managed to cut the corner a
Yeah,
little bit
couple of
compared to.
couple of days.
Um,
Yeah.
So then, yeah, nothing much interesting there. That's the exclusion zone and boring. Then that's where I parked up for 4 days.
Yeah.
I've played that
That
back.
was exciting. That's when Kirsten came boring down on you.
Yeah.
You got her back on the way up the Atlantic. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay.
and after and New Zealand
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
I got it back with interest.
Yes.
So actually, what I was really concerned about, because there was sort of information out there, or people were saying that Kirsten had managed to go down below it and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
get underneath, but actually it just moved off into the
Yeah,
Tasman
yeah,
Sea
definitely.
and just had to wait. Because actually, yeah, well, you saw it all and,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
could watch it.
Yeah.
I was just
Hey,
guessing.
how's the replay for you? Have you been watching some of the replays
I've
of the daily tracker update?
no, I haven't.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
replayed the tracks,
Yeah.
but I'll be catching up.
You got hours of fun because we actually did it every day this time. We
Yeah,
did
so-
that in 2018.
I-
So
I-
every day there's you can see the weather and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so-
I will be playing that back, but actually,
Yeah.
Cass Smith, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
she's got all the gribs and everything, and
Yeah, cool.
we had dinner last night and
Yeah.
and played back that just to check. So I'm now satisfied. I couldn't have done anything different because you know how frustrated I was down
Oh,
there,
yeah.
because I wasn't
Nothing
getting the
worse.
weather and I wasn't getting the well.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to get the weather bulletins down there, but
Yeah.
I spent a few days. In fact, it wouldn't have made any difference, but psychologically, when you're out
Oh,
there
yeah.
on your own and you're not going anywhere,
Yeah,
and the
everyone
worst
else
time
is-
is when there's no wind,
Absolutely.
and I couldn't get these
Yeah.
weather
Yeah.
bulletins that I was
That's cool.
hoping to get,
Yeah.
and then of course that was where I escaped and closed the gate behind me,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely. It was on.
yeah, it was on, and then of course the next one is I think I was about 1,200 miles ahead, heading down. I just turned the corner to go down
Yeah.
towards, and,
I just
and
measured it this morning. It was nearly 1,300.
yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't make me feel any better.
Oh, I just throw that in. You know?
So that's when I got hit by the wave. So it was literally, and I knew because down here you can estimate your ETAs pretty carefully because the speed is the same. And I was keeping up precisely with the timing of Moitessier.
Yeah.
And would have rounded the same day as he did on the 5th of February.
Okay. Yeah.
And then so 27th of January and on 8th of February I made it up to Puerto Montt.
Okay.
And then that interesting period coming down the Chilean coast, I had to anchor up for 3 days. Waiting.
Sorry for you there.
Well, it was a lovely place. I don't know if you've seen the photos of it, but it was a great little anchorage. But I've got some good photos of it.
Okay.
And I've managed to finish off doing some of the work that I'd left without.
Yep. Okay, and then the roaring up the Atlantic.
Yeah, had a lovely passage of Cape Horn. I mean, I think I probably had one of the nicest. It was pretty calm, and I could get right close in, and the lighthouse keeper managed to get some photos and video, and I got some of him, and we had a nice chat. Really nice guy, Jose.
Yeah.
And then coming up here, I mean, it couldn't really have been better for me. I suspect I might have broken a few records getting from Cape Horn to the equator. Because I got through this bit with, I mean, that surprised me a little bit. I don't know if that's always absolutely normal, but we had these gales just coming, they're blowing across Patagonia.
They always form on the coast there, and they go out and they often intensify, but that's another story.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's a bit that I hadn't really anticipated. So up to 40 degrees.
Yeah, I was warning everyone online, our viewers, watching this, say, well, you're never out until you get above 40.
Yeah.
You're still in the Southern Ocean. You think you get around Cape Horn and it's all over. It's not.
Yeah.
You've got to get up there.
And then I had that very fortunate spell between 442 where I had a high pressure that came in behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's payback for the high pressure I sat behind down below. And just followed me up into the trade winds.
Okay.
And
the
then
rest of it only happened yesterday. And
everyone knows about that.
Yeah.
So that was.
So
that
did
was
you
cool.
have fun?
Yeah, at times. I mean, times I have to say. I mean, the light weather is particularly stressful. I mean, it happens. I mean, that happens in sailing, but that's the worst time, worse than the heavy weather. So that's probably the most frustrating. But I mean, as soon as it kicks back in again, and I think I recorded that I got cabin fever. I mean, this is a nice cabin to live in compared to some. I mean, it's really quite pleasant. Mostly I'd got books and things to read, and I got music to listen to, and I'd got tapes from family and friends who'd recorded messages. So it's a pretty good place to live. But when you're down here and just getting bashed around, and the best place is lying down on and strapped in, pretty much, and that goes on for 7-8 days, you do get cabin fever, and that's probably the worst part of it. I think I mentioned it at the time.
So did the GGR deliver everything you expected?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I mean, sort of element of, and I think you'll have had this comment from others, and I know Abhilash sort of feels fairly strongly about it, was that at times it didn't feel like you were racing because I mean, for a race you really need to be racing against other people, and since we didn't know where people were, you're really just racing. I mean, for me, perhaps it didn't matter because after Chile I was out of the race, and therefore I was cruising. but I mean, even cruising, you're trying to make it go fast, and then you get people teasing you over the radio saying, "Would you like to know where the others are?" And I can't tell you. Yeah. Thanks, Don.
Exactly. Yeah. But it is surely a race against yourself, same as it was for Robin and all. So he didn't know where anyone was. Same thing. Yeah. I mean, although at the end, of course, he was given a bit of information once he passed the mobile. Caught a ship,
he caught a ship. Yeah.
And they told him his Matessia had carried on, and he said, "What?"
Yeah.
So,
I mean, actually, I managed to get a ship just at 4 degrees north.
Yeah.
There was a cruise ship passing by, and they came right by, and they were obviously on the phone to the 2,000 odd passengers on board on the.
And did they know about the race, or you told them?
I told them about the race and said you can find it on. And what, by the way, while you're there, could you just give me let me know where Abhilash and Kirsten are?
Yeah.
And just at that point, I was at fraction over 4 degrees north.
Yeah.
And Kirsten was at about 3:48.
Yeah.
And Abhilash was at about 3:18. So I'd actually just nudged
So they
nudged
then-
into the lead. So I knew then.
Yeah, perfect. So they told everyone on board, and everyone on board comes up to check you out, and so
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
perfect.
a bit of publicity for GGR, and
No, it's
that
called
was
the
really nice.
expedition leader. I've done a lot of that. You want things to happen to keep
Yeah,
people
yeah,
happy. It's like,
keep 'em-
hey, we've got a round the world race out here. Boom, boom, and he's just in the lead.
Interestingly, I had a cruise ship that was doing Cape Horn, and because
Yeah.
it was a nice weather and everything,
Yeah.
they'd come out of Ushuaia, and then they went back to Ushuaia, and then I met them again. They were off to do the Falklands,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I had a repeat visit from them a
That's
couple of
cool.
days apart.
Yeah. They probably hunted you down.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
It would have been a great buzz for the passengers.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. All right.
so that was good.
And so, what do you want to tell us about the race? Something that you want to tell the people? Anything, you know?
Well, there are a few other things. I mean, we could cover a bit on food and stuff,
Yeah,
per-
go
perhaps.
for it. Yeah,
So,
food's
I mean,
interesting. How much did you have left when you got back?
what I did was I took enough food for 240 days planned.
240 days today.
Yeah,
You ran
absolutely. So, no, I didn't run out. So,
No.
so I had 4 days left
Yeah.
of the proper food, which
Yeah.
was so supermarket cans for the main meals.
Yeah.
And I had lots of sort of tins of
So
sardine and stuff like that for
So it
lunches.
was all wet food.
It was
in
all
tins.
wet food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I only
Perfect.
I only took 320 litres, and I would have been fine. I did put
Yeah.
in a bit more water in Chile for the extra
Yeah.
time, but I've come back with 80 litres in here, and I've still got 40
Yeah.
litres that I took from Mela, so
That's
a spare.
Yeah, that's the beauty of wet food. I'm a great believer of wet food rather
Yeah.
than freeze dried. You know.
And,
Yeah.
and just to make sure I kept in good health, I'll just grab. This is what I got left of the technical food.
Oh, yeah.
So I also had these,
Yeah.
which are a bit of advertising for a great supporter.
What are they?
So that's a liquid meal.
A liquid meal.
So it's got
Is this roast beef?
no, it's a chocolate liquid
A
meal.
chocolate liquid meal.
But if you look at the list of vitamins and
Oh, yeah.
minerals and stuff like that,
That's cool.
that keeps the
Everything's
scurvy away.
going.
So I had that for
And
breakfast.
how many calories in that, do you reckon? You probably
It tells you on there,
yeah.
but
okay.
I haven't got my
I can't
glasses
see
on.
it.
Yeah, I haven't got
Yeah,
my
there's
glasses.
benefits to that as well because it's a package and it's easy when it's really.
And it
cut.
stores everywhere, and that's half a litre of liquid.
Yeah.
So although I only took 320 litres of water,
Yeah.
I also took 120 litres
What's it
in
called?
these. It's a
Achieve.
German company called Achieve. The
Achieve.
company is called Ahead.
Yeah.
Um,
Achieve meal.
Well,
Yeah.
and they
That's
also make these, which are sort of
Oh, that's
isotonic drink,
prawn cocktail. I don't know.
lemon and.
Yeah.
But
okay.
again, look at the minerals and vitamins,
Yeah.
and then. And these are to keep you mentally alive as well.
Ah.
They're for athletes,
Okay.
which I wouldn't classify myself as an athlete
No,
really.
but you're doing the similar stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they've got some for that they call prepare, and some that are
Yeah.
recovery or something. So
Okay.
there's ones for before and
So
ones
how
for
much water
after.
does that go in?
Normally, I think it would go in 500 ml, and I put
Yeah.
in 850, a bit
Yeah.
diluted. The
Okay.
the additional bonus of this is, if you're drinking water that's got
Tastes like rubbish.
tastes like rubbish, add this to it, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely fine.
Absolutely fine. Cool.
So that was a real bonus, and
Yeah.
and they also do these fantastic energy bars. I'm doing
Yeah.
a bit of promotion for them, but I mean they really were good.
That's all right.
Tasty, sort of coconut chocolate based, but
Coconut chocolate base.
yeah,
It's Achieve again,
Uh,
same one.
and chocolate
Yeah.
ones, and there was
It
peanut
feels
butter
good,
and
feels
caramel.
moist.
Oh, they really,
Feels moist.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unlike all
Yeah,
nasty
they'd be
dry
dry.
bars. So I had about 400 of these,
Yeah.
and they're particularly good down in the south when you
Yeah,
just
that's
need a
cool.
few more calories
Yeah.
to
What
keep the cold
what
out.
about clothes and keeping warm.
Clothes and keeping warm. I had some merino undergarments.
Yeah.
Of two bonuses. One they don't smell,
Yeah.
or too badly, and they work. So that was just 24 hours a day wearing those. Then I had mid layers. Again, sort of mixing mid layers never allowed outside, even though they're waterproof.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
always covered up.
Every time I used to sneak out doing that, you got away.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, around the world.
absolutely, yeah.
You did every time you try it.
I probably tried once or twice. And then actually, I mean, for foul weather gear, I had a
Use
sort of
Helly
spray
Hansen.
top.
Yeah.
I had a spray top from Helly Hansen, but then I had Mustos were a bit of a supporter as well, and they gave me. I mean, they're not even the HPX. I don't think they're there actually, but
Yeah.
the MPX, and it was absolutely perfectly adequate.
MPX, yeah.
So I mean, they have improved since I last used them, and
So
I bought my
So you
old-
were wearing thermal underwear, middle layer, and MPX.
pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
isn't it
perhaps
funny?
a fleece or two on top.
I
Yeah.
looked at that. same issue, and I thought, geez, why couldn't you? Because I remember, anyway, I'll digress. I keep coming back to what I did, but
Yeah.
a long time ago, I was often wearing lightweight stuff in the Southern Ocean because it doesn't get so cold so quick all the time.
No, it's quite
And it's more
interesting.
flexible when it's light, you know.
I don't know whether it was acclimatization. I don't think it was. But the coldest I got was south of South Africa.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
okay.
not even going down as far as we did in the Pacific.
Yeah.
But we'd got a cold wind coming up from Antarctica.
Yeah.
And there, I mean, you certainly had hoary breath. I mean, it was down sort of probably. I thought I'd lost all my thermometers because they went mercury everywhere on the floor. Got a bit bashed up. It was probably down at around sort of 5 or 6 degrees, 7 degrees, something like that. But
Okay.
most of the time down there, it was in double figures, which frankly is pretty much the same as it is at home in my uninsulated house in Brittany.
So what about your boots and stuff? Feet?
Boots. So I had
hands?
a combination. I had these Helly Hansen plastic welly boots,
Oh yeah.
which are
Okay.
quick in and out, and they
Yeah.
were fairly adequate. I had some nice socks, waterproof socks,
Yeah.
and warm socks. But I also had lizard boots. I don't know if
Lizard
you-
boots.
Yeah, which are great. Do you know them?
No.
They're not actually lizard skin, but
Yeah.
they're really flexible,
Oh yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another one. Yeah.
And so they're totally waterproof.
Yeah.
So I wore those probably about 10% of the time, but when I really want, and I never got wet in my boots the whole way around,
Cool.
which really surprised me.
Yeah. Yeah. What about your hands?
Hands, I mean, didn't suffer too badly. We had a look at them a couple of times around. I mean, what I found was because, I mean, I wasn't using a whole load of fresh water for washing.
Yeah.
I was using sort of wipes and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Biodegradable, you know, there's ones you get for the toilet these days that you can then dispose of.
Yeah.
And what I found was that actually you get ingrained salt in there that's sort of in the skin, and however much you wash them,
Yeah.
it's still salty. And it feels, I mean, everything's sticky and salty,
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
you
yeah.
touch.
Yeah.
And yeah, at some point, all that skin that was ingrained with salt just came off.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Yes.
Yeah. I won't
I
go
used
into that too much,
In the
but
Southern Ocean, I used to put silicone cream, like silicone cream on my hands to stop the water absorbing all the time.
yeah,
I
I did.
lost a lot
I
of
did
skin.
use a bit of barrier cream
Yeah,
a little bit,
Yeah.
and kept hydrated.
Yeah. Okay.
Medical supplies I didn't really use.
Yeah.
Navigation went. I got down to the last 3 plotting charts,
Yeah. That's good. Perfect. Yeah.
which is good timing. And the only reason I had those left was because there was no sun for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
So
So
I've been.
did you write a journal or was it a ship's log?
No, I did a ship's log.
Just a
Yeah,
ship's log.
yeah. There were a few comments in there, but it's a ship's log and radio log.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Nothing exciting. I promised that at the beginning.
Yeah.
You won't get any nice emotional stuff from me.
Oh no, japers! Everyone was asking. Anyway.
No, you won't get that.
All right. Well, everything looks pretty shipshape, you know. And
Yeah,
so
I mean, she
did
could go again. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she came
So-
back probably in better condition than.
So you said
than
someone
when I
you were
started.
talking to someone that was interested in the boat. That's just the interest in the boat, or are you going to sell it? Because I think you were saying you might keep it.
Well, I mean, Clara and I co-own it with Claire, and
Yeah.
she's lived through the last 4 years of preparation as much as just
Now
about
she
as
wants
much
to
as I
probably
have.
Use it. She's going to do the 26 BOC.
Yeah,
I mean, the
maybe,
GTR.
maybe not.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, we were cruising in her for 3 years, and
Yeah.
she's come right up to the end. We were doing a bit of cruising,
Yeah.
and she's a comfortable boat
Yeah.
for cruising in. So there's that option, but it sort of kind of feels that we'd love to hang on to her,
Yeah.
but she also almost deserves another round because
Yeah.
she's ready to go. And
Yeah, it's a hot boat.
yeah.
Absolutely. I've got to thank you for that. You proved my concept correct right from the very beginning when we have all these different boats, and the idea was to keep the fleet together or at least give everyone a chance, and you've proven it because now people know it's more than just the boat.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, my theory, you'll have studied it in greater detail. I didn't get any of the first 15 fastest day runs or anything like that.
Yeah.
So those will all be in fast reaching conditions,
Yeah.
and something that's a powerful boat. I've got a smaller rig than both the Rustler and particularly the Cape George.
Yeah.
And the Cape George has got a greater waterline length, and
Yeah.
it's a powerful boat. But it weighs 12 tons,
Yeah.
and this boat weighs 7 tons
Yeah.
to start with.
Yeah.
And so there are conditions where this boat is going to go better.
Absolutely.
And I would say that this boat is probably the most balanced, and it was quite.
All-rounder.
and it was quite easy to keep it at 6 to 6.5 knots 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And then whereas others will have been going a knot faster at times, but then dipping.
And also, you were always sailing for the mark. It didn't matter where the mark
was.
was.
So that's I was talking about the difference in the the boats, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a pure phenomenally fast boat, but I think it's a very good all-rounder. It's light and the sail choice was to maximise how quickly we could get to the 6.5 knots.
Yeah.
And stay there,
Yeah.
because there's no point in trying to go faster than that, because all you're doing is pushing more water around.
Yeah, exactly.
For me.
Yeah. That's cool. All right. So we've been going for nearly an hour. We're 1 second. There it goes. Boom.
Oh, does it cut out?
No, it doesn't cut out.
Oh, the hour's gone.
People get bored if they see it's going to go for 3 hours. They won't
Yeah,
watch the
no,
start,
we'll cut it short.
So no, that's really good. Anything to sign off with? I mean, I think we've covered everything, but yeah, your performance was exceptional. Absolutely exceptional.
Well, I achieved the main objectives of what I was trying to achieve, which was firstly to do the circumnavigation solo, and the second, I wanted to be satisfied that my navigation and tactical performance was good, and I thought I'd prepared a boat that was going to be competitive.
Yeah.
And I've really shown all of that. I'd never set out, and you won't find anything on record of me saying that I wanted to try and win this race.
Yeah.
It was a bit difficult when I found that I'd been in the lead for 2/3 of the race, and then managed to catch up at the end. So I did end up leading for most of it. But once I'd got over the disappointment of the fact that I was effectively out of the race, I was still aiming for those same objectives, which was to complete it and to sail a good course.
Yeah. So what's next?
What's next is a bit of gardening, really, and sorting out a house and that sort of thing.
Okay, but what about after that?
Well, it was 20 years between my mini Transat and this, so leave it a few more years and we'll see. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks, Simon. That's fantastic, and we appreciate the time. I sense that you're kicking back a bit now and relaxing, not rushing out to do other things straight away. Is that right? Like you deserve it, but anyway.
Well, we've got. I did leave rather a mess of because I got a job and we run a business here with river boating up and down, and of course I went away and we lost a bit of the season last season, and now we've got bookings for coming up, and we've got boats that aren't quite ready, so
more refits.
As of tomorrow I'll be back trying to pick up the pieces and all tie up the loose ends that I left
they're
behind.
Canal boats, just for those that don't know.
Yeah.
Canal boats up the French canals and stuff.
Yeah, they're on the rivers of the Morbihan in Brittany. So on the Canal de Nantes-Brest.
The website, so people can come book your boats.
BrittanyBoating.com. It's quite easy.
Oh, come and meet Simon. BrittanyBoating.com.
Yep.
Ooh, perfect. Okay. Thanks, Simon. That's fantastic. I'm going to try and turn, just to be polite. No, not to you, Jane. Jane's now hiding because she thinks she's going to be on the screen. Here she goes. She's doing a runner. But anyway, I'm just going to say thanks for being here, and thanks, Simon, and all that sort of stuff. We'll see you again next time. We're still going to do Kirsten and Abelish and all the rest of it, but today was Simon's Day. See you later.